The first two rounds have been the traditional format for the V-TEC GTR series, with their sprint and feature doubleheader giving the audience plenty of action. But today, we combine the two for the first endurance round of the season. While the previous tracks have been new additions to iRacing, today's circuit has been a part of the service for many years now. Will this familiarity help our drivers, or will today be a tough one with no break to give them some rest? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 3 of the V-TEC GTR series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Richie Hearn. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Road America plays host for today's race, and much like it's been around on iRacing for a while, it's been a staple of American road racing for more than half a century. Let's take a closer look at the makeup of this notoriously fast road course. Welcome to Road America. Nicknamed America's National Park of Speed, it's easy to see why just by looking at how the track is laid out. Long straights are a major feature, and drivers will build up incredible momentum before they find themselves interrupted by tight 90-degree corners. In fact, for a 4-mile circuit, it has shockingly few turns. It also has little in the way of variation in layouts. The main course is only broken up once with a single chicane added in the bend version. But don't take this to mean that it's a boring track. Elevation change happens many times over a lap, with a few places taking you into corners which are quite blind. But two of the turns on the back half of the course are perhaps the most distinctive. One is the carousel with its more than 180-degree radius. It just feels like it never stops. The other is the kink. Terrifyingly fast with very little runoff, it can end someone's race in a flash. As you'd expect, the heavy braking zones make for some ideal overtaking spots. Turn 5 sees plenty with its downhill entry. The hurried downs can offer drivers a chance at a sneak attack if you're brave, and then Canada Corner gives you one last shot before the lap is over. It's no wonder major organizations such as IMSA, IndyCar, NASCAR, and the SCCA all host major races here. All in all, many drivers rate this track as the best track in North America. Many who hop in the seat and try it can quickly understand why. There you see a little bit more slightly lit as we're very early in the morning here in Road America. But Richie, you've had the chance to race on this track in real life, so it seems fitting to let you tell us a little bit more about this place.
Yeah, here we are at Road America, right in the middle of Wisconsin, and in my opinion, probably the best road course we have in the United States. It is very fast, very flowing. It's very long too, 4 miles, 6.5 kilometers. 14 turns, but you can see a lot of the turns are just kind of 90 degrees, but they all lead on to some sort of straightaway. So there's definitely plenty of passing sections, turn 1, turn 5, turn 8, back in Canada Corner, which goes through the forest there after the kink. These cars are going to have definite challenge. The GT3 Audis will be very fast around this track. But those front-wheel drive Audis, TCR Audis, they're pretty quick as well. They have a lot of horsepower, and they also have really good drafting capabilities. So those long straights, you're going to see maybe not just one pass, but maybe 2 passes before we get to the next corner. Really, the key sections to this track is leading onto that front straightaway because it goes straight uphill, and it's a very long straight, and then going back out of turn 3 or turn 4, they call it, down into turn 5. It has a really heavy downhill braking zone, which is going to be something to watch.
Certainly should be some passing opportunities today, and the passing will be important because, as always, we have points up for grabs. So let's take a look at the Drivers' Championships, starting with the GT3s. Callum Wright is leading Richard Kaluska, his teammate, by only 3. Those two have really been up at the front and have been pretty fast with one another. Now, Burka back there is here today, and I see that we have Callum Wright in the field, but he hasn't put a time in yet, so this could be an opportunity for Burka to try and get in there, and then Nick Brown and Lucas Eidelberg round out your top 5 in those GT standings. Now let's take a look at the TCRs as well. These are the front wheel drive cars that we were talking about. It's been pretty much Marcus Walton's race to lose in most of the races, and well, he did lose the race last week with a bit of action that unfortunately caught him out. Simon Jacobson has been challenging of him, but don't count out Olsen. Even though he's a number of points back, he's been pretty consistent so far. The Howard and Liebig round out the field. Richie, we've got just one race to do today instead of two. Why don't you run down our race details for us?
Oh, here we have our race details. So we're round 5 of 10, so just about halfway through this series. Like I mentioned, we're using the Audi R8 GT3 car and the new Audi RS3 TCR car. They're using a fixed setup, so everybody's running the same thing. 45-minute endurance race, not too short, but not too long. They do get -3 points for every 10 instances that they get. And on this track, actually, that might be important because there's lots of places to drop wheels, pick up a point here, pick up a point there. So that might kind of calculate into their standings at the end as far as the championship goes.
We're in the middle of qualifying right now. Chris Howard up at the top of the provisional poll in the GT class. The TCR is being led by Marcus Walton, who's actually taken it into the pit, so he seems pretty happy with his time, even though he's only got about a 10th over Ledvig. The weather out there right now, as you would expect, because it's 5:30 in the morning, virtual standard time, is pretty cool. It's only 65 degrees Fahrenheit right now, but we'll keep an eye on that. We've actually, we're not going to have much of a change in the weather. It's a static sky today, interestingly, just to a small error. So it's going to stay these conditions all through the race. And one thing that I'm curious about is with these front-wheel drive cars, Richie, we're just talking about front-wheel drive cars, granted on dirt, but we've got the carousel out here. And I don't think I've actually seen on GSRC a front-wheel drive car try and tackle that carousel. They're kind of known for their understeer. Is that going to be a big problem with the fronts on that car around that turn? May have lost Richie here for a second, as looks like
I'm back.
Oh, there we go. Now we got
Yeah, I'm back. Sorry about that. Yeah, I actually, in preparation for this event, I jumped in and practiced in that TCR car on this track a few laps, and I did find the carousel. Actually, the one part that really annoyed me because it had so much understeer, so you had to be super patient. But it does pull really strong out of those 90-degree corners. So if you're just a little patient before you get back on the gas, it actually drives pretty nice. But to go back to your point, that carousel does create a little bit of an issue with those cars.
I wonder if it'll be a little bit of a case of tire management. We've also seen that they've got the new tire model on the TCRs, and warming up those tires has played into certain drivers' pace for those drivers. We're watching Eidelberg now come up the hill. He's yet to set his first time. He's had a couple offs on his first attempts. So let's see what this one puts down, and it's a 2:08.3. That is going to be good enough for 6th place. Last of the drivers who's managed to get a time in. Let's see, is Gersitz and Wright actually here today? It looks like Gersitz not going to be joining us. I do see Wright is in the session, but he's not out on track for some reason.
Yeah, we have, just kind of a slimmed down field a little bit, but the times are pretty close as Marcus Walton in that TCR is on pole at the moment, but he's only got about a 10th and a half on Jens Ledwig. So that's pretty close. On a 4-mile track, usually you'll see bigger splits in time, so that's really almost nothing on a 4-mile road course.
We've seen bigger splits on much shorter courses for Walton as well, because he's been a second quicker in some qualifying sessions than those around him. This is Jens' opportunity to certainly try and seal the pole away from Walton, since he's got a little bit more time. It is a fairly lengthy lap, as Richie mentioned, at 2 minutes and 20 seconds for these drivers of the TCRs. Watching Jeff Jacobson come around, and that looked like a little bit of an off there. Not sure if that one is going to count for the number 140. He's coming up the hill now, that very steep uphill, and he's going to actually abandon the lap himself. So what about Jens in the 84? Up and across the line. He's got a 2:19.8. Is this any quicker than that? That one didn't count for him. So another off for him as he cycles around to take another go at it.
Yeah, with only 5 minutes left. It's really only about maybe 2 laps if they're lucky. So it does take a long time to get around, but it does on this track. It actually feels like you're going somewhere. So it's not your standard cookie cutter track. You do go through the forest and then back up the front straightaway where the crowd is. So it does make it pretty exciting. It's fun in real life, and it's also fun on the service.
Also, a few fairly tricky corners. You know, I think a surface view, you'd mentioned all the 90-degree turns that are around here. And sometimes I feel like that's a little bit deceiving. Because I don't know about you, Richie, but for me, I've always found turn 6, the one after the Corvette Bridge, just incredibly tough to nail.
Yeah, because it's a blind entry there. You can't see your braking zone, and it's easy to overshoot it. And then it goes back down through hurry downs through that fast, right, left, or right turn. It's a little bit of a kink, but there's a lot more hill here than it looks like. And even coming up that front straightaway, that little dip that goes up the hill, when you're driving in real life, you really feel it push you down into the seat.
See if Olsen feels himself pushing across the line here. He's in third, and this most recent lap, the first one that doesn't count for Olsen, the 32, does still have those 3.5 minutes left. We had someone coming out with him. That was Payne there in the GT cars at the 129. Going to get one last shot at this. We're still watching Ledwig as well, who comes down into Canada corner. Just about ready to finish this lap as ahead of him, Sam Winton having troubles. He's also P2 in his class in those GT cars. This is not going to be a fast one with him way wide around Canada corner.
And something to notice or mention that we are running a multi-class race, so these guys are mixing it up with each other. And those GT3 cars are quite a bit quicker overall lap time. I mean, they're about 16 seconds a lap quicker. So they come up on them pretty quick, but fortunately there's a lot of room to get by, but that might be something to watch as we get deeper into the race, especially once we start doing pit stops.
Wow, Ledwig having trouble keeping on the track. So we go over to Niels Hundhedge, who lets another of those GT cars through. That's Alex Thake, a new name here this season. Thake not doing too bad, sitting in fourth, although his most recent lap not going to count for him. But Nils improves to a 2:20.2, but he doesn't go higher on the timing sheets. He stays on that second row in fourth place. We're down to 2 minutes left, so anybody who is looking to start a new lap will only have this one left. You can't really get 2 more in after this. Watching Linford as well, sitting 6th in his class. All of the TCR cars have managed to get a time in, but I'm still not seeing Callum Wright out on track. Not sure if he's actually going to be taking part today or not. Watch Linford up the hill. Sorry, go ahead, Richie.
I was just noticing he connected, but I don't see his car out there.
He hasn't been out pretty much the whole qualifying. Not sure what he's got up his sleeve there. You are able to pass out here, but I certainly wouldn't want to start at the back of the field. Walton also has not come back out on track until now, but it's too late for him to start a lap. So I guess maybe he's just getting a little bit of practice in. Jens Ledwig is coming around for another one here. He's actually just through the kettle bottoms up towards Canada corner. Good entry into this corner, getting onto the binders as we watch Payne come across the track. Speaking of Canadian, Payne sporting what appears to be a flannel paint scheme or something there. All right, let's see what Ledwig can do up the hill out of the final corner. He's only had one lap count so far in this qualifying. Can he keep it clean this time through? If he does not, he's going to be able to cycle around one last time across the line. A 2:19.6, that is quicker by 0.2, and that is good enough for pole. So the 84 does manage to overtake Walton.
Yeah, he actually, he almost got ran over. They were going in the corner by one of the Audis or the GT3 cars. But yeah, he put one together. And like I mentioned, it's easy to drop a wheel here and there and lose that time. But he finally puts one together and basically seals his pole position as Walton went back out, but not enough time to basically complete that lap.
Watching Linford, who's going to be the next one to come across the line and the first driver to complete qualifying here today. So he works his way through Canada Corner as well. And he's sitting in 6th out of the 7 in our TCR class. Up and over the blind Bill Mitchell Bend into the final turn. That looked pretty clean for him. Taking it all the way to the edge of the track, pushing off the corner. Look at that, nice and smooth for that Audi TCR. The number 34, another of our drivers, has only had 1 lap time put down. So what's the second one going to be? Will it actually count for him? It does, and it's quicker. It's a 2:20.6. That's good enough for 5th place. I think we've only got 2 other cars on track to be able to complete a lap. I see Winton, Fake, and yeah, those are the only 2. Working together, it looks like, Richie, to try and steal a little bit of draft.
Yeah, that could help out. If you can work with each other and kind of leapfrog, it's definitely going to help. Long straightaways, so a couple tenths here, a couple tenths there, adds up.
Winton, the leading one, even though he's in 2nd. I would think that they'd try to get him the draft, and, well, neither is going to get a lap here as they both go off course. So that's going to end our qualifying for today. So let's go through our starting order here for round 3 in the V-TEC GTR series. On the overall pole in the GT class, it is Chris Howard with Sam Winton going to be starting outside of him on the outside of row 1. Then in row 2, Tobias Burka will be starting in 3rd. Newcomer Alex Thake with a decent qualifying, putting himself into P4 here today. James Payne will be starting in 5th, and then you've got Lucas Eidelberg, the last of our GT cars to put a lap down. Gersitz, as we mentioned, will not be here. Callum Wright, I'm seeing still in the session, so we'll see if he grits up. What is the TCR class going to look like, Richie?
Yeah, starting first for the TCR class will be Jens Ledwig. Right next to him is going to be Marcus Walton. And row behind them will be Tobias Olsen and Niels Hundehedge. And then the row behind them, 11th overall, will be Milo Linford and then Jeff Jacobson. And then starting on the row behind them will be Nicholas Morelli. And then the 2 guys that are in there, but we have not seen them put a time, is Jan Gertschitz and Callum Wright. If they line up, they will line up behind all the TCR cars.
We wait for them to line up now that the session has moved over, and we have a rolling start in this series, so we get to watch them work their way around this track. Just curious, Richie, what all different types of cars have you actually driven here? I assume you managed to get drive the IndyCar here at least once, didn't you?
Yeah, I've raced IndyCar here 3 times. So 97, 98, 99, I was there. And then I've also raced I raced a Viper here a couple times. I'm actually looking at my trophy right now. I had 2nd place there in the Viper Championship.
Oof, gosh, how fast did you get in the Viper down those straights? Because that's a car known for a lot of grunt underneath it.
Yeah, it's pretty quick, and it doesn't stop very well. So, but surprisingly, it handled pretty good. You just had to realize that you got to back those braking zones up a little bit. But it was a lot of fun.
I can only imagine, especially the sound of that car screaming through the woods around here as we're waiting for the last of the drivers to line up on the grid here for round 3. Not sure. Let's see. I'm trying to think of at 2 minutes a lap. How quickly are we going to be catching those TCR cars? I do anticipate in a 45-minute race we're going to get that traffic that Richie was talking about between them. The question is how quickly, and then also where are they going to be catching them? I guess the good news, at least for the GT3 cars, is they've got a little bit more downforce put on them. So I'm assuming, at least in places such as the carousel, they could probably work their way around the outside, I would think.
Yeah, there's going to be plenty of places that they can pass. but it just, if they catch them at the wrong time, and you got to be a little patient. So it's not going to be one of those situations where you're going to have to force the issue. They're fast enough down the straightaway; they can just zip on by. But those guys are going to have their own race going on, so they're going to have to keep an eye open for them coming around. I'm not going to do math here, so I don't know how long it's going to take to get there, but they'll definitely get there in 45 minutes.
You've been on GSRC long enough not to do math on air. So the good news is Callum Wright has been waived up to his class by the stewards, so he'll get to start with the GT3 cars up there. And we are getting some information saying it's going to be about 15 minutes, so a third of the way through the race. Maybe lap them twice then, potentially more than that, depending on how things go for them. Again, they will have a pit stop today for both classes, something to keep in mind. It always amazes me how long that pit road is, Richie, and I always say it that if there's a set strategy in a race here at Road America, you don't want to be coming down more than that amount of times.
No, it's very long, and it just seems like it takes forever. The pit speed limit doesn't start to the very top of the hill where the bridge is, so you can come in pretty fast, but then it's just this long drag. And at the speeds that they're going, that you definitely lose a lot of track time.
You see the TCR cars were heading down in the 5. This is the turn 6 I was talking about, through Corvette Bridge and around the corner. And then you head through the Hurry Downs into turn 8. I seem to get some debate anytime I bring it up. I say that this corner here after the Hurry Downs, this left-hander, is a potential passing zone. I've seen so many passes over the years, but then some drivers come to me and say, no, it's not a really good place to do it. What's your take?
It's kind of a passing zone when it's the last race, because you can muscle your way through, and you can have position in the carousel. But sometimes you don't want that pass, because the out of the carousel, that long drag to Canada corner, you're probably going to get repassed. But you can definitely pass there.
Yeah, they come up to that now. This is the TCR cars working their way through the carousel. You can see just how long it is. Quite a bit of elevation change as well as they come downhill. And then it's almost sort of a valley through here, it seems, with trees on both sides, thundering your way through the kink. In your time in IndyCar, was it flat out through that kink? Was there enough downforce in those days?
Flat out, hold your breath type of thing. Like, because if you make a mistake, you can see you just ping pong back and forth across the track. So it was kind of nowadays I think it's a little easier, but then it was pretty much just a qualifying flat out.
Oof. I don't know how you did that. I don't think I would be brave enough to be able to keep my foot down through there.
Just that's what they pay you for, I guess, right?
You make the big bucks, but they come out of Canada corner now up to Bill Mitchell Bend. And the pace car is going to peel off and give control to Chris Howard for 45 minutes of racing. No feature and sprint today, just one long 45-minute race. Out of the final corner, looking for that Porsche to duck up into the lane, and then Howard... Oh, wow. Howard almost goes and then halts a little bit. Everybody checks up behind him. Still ahead of Winton, though. He's going to go anyways as the green flag comes out. Our GT class screaming down towards turn 1. Howard already pulling a number of car lengths ahead of Winton, who's got Burka looking to the inside for that second place. They break for that first corner as those behind them start to catch up as well, but it's mostly single file. It's clean through turn 1. Let's go to the TCRs, Richie.
Yeah, split start here, and they just got the green flag as we head on into turn 1. Looks like that second place car. Oh, I thought Marcus was going to get that spot. He goes out wide and goes right into the gravel, so he's going to fall back behind. Jens Legwood's going to hold on to that position as they head down to turn 3. So that's going to put Marcus Wilson back on the back foot there. He's going to have to do some catching up.
6th place for him. We saw Jeff Jacobson also going off. That was the TCR car, the green and black one that we saw behind him. Starts clearly a weakness for Marcus Walton, who always seems to lose positions there. Meanwhile, up at the overall front, as we see those TCR cars come down into turn 5, it's Howard leading Winton by almost a second already. And then you've got a train of cars from 2nd down to 5th place. That's Winton, Burka, Wright, and Fake.
Yeah, everybody doing a good job, just kind of taking it easy on this opening lap and kind of going single file and feeling it out. Back in the TCR class, Jens Legwig is starting to gap out second spot, but second, third, fourth. Oh, see, Jens goes off. Jens goes off at the bottom of the hill there after Hurry's down. There you go on your screen as they go under that Bratwurst Bridge. And he's going to lose a number of spots. He's going to push him back all the way maybe to fourth, maybe squeeze in there, but made an early mistake. And that's going to give first place to Tobias Olsen.
I think that's Hundhedge, actually, that's taken the lead away as we take a look at the replay.
Yeah, and this is what catches you out. You're carrying so much speed down that hill, and he just missed his braking zone a little bit. And unfortunately, with that front-wheel drive, if you just power through it, it just pushes out, and there he goes. Fortunately, he wasn't able to hit anything, but he did lose the lead that he easily had. And you're right, it is Niels Hundhedge in the lead.
Yeah. There you go. And while we were watching that replay, it swapped over. So now you were right, as Olsen has taken over the first spot. That draft you were talking about is coming into play, and it's going to be swapping yet again. Here's Hundhedge coming right back through on Olsen, who goes defensive up the long front stretch. It looks like Eidelberg has come into the pits. That's way too early to be scheduled. Not sure what's going on there. We'll get back to that in a second, as it is a game of chicken into turn one. Olsen with the inside. We got a car off into the grass. That's Ledvig, who gets it back onto the circuit, but loses a position. Linford going to take third place away from him while it's a battle back there. Still side by side, though, as Linford's not done with it. Now he finally gets in front. Morelli and Walton fighting behind them for P5. And it all starts over again as they now come down the Moraine sweep.
Yeah, Ledwig, in a hurry to get his position back, overdrove that turn one, and fortunately was able to keep going, but he did lose one more position, push him back to fourth.
Finally getting some cars staying on track down through turn five. This seems like a lot of cold tire issues, because it's still 65 degrees out there, and these cars look like they are struggling to get them up to temperature.
Yeah, that could be possibly the key, and maybe just a little nerves early in the race, because it is 45 minutes, but it's really not that long. So everybody trying to get done whatever they got to get done. Up front, not much going on. Howard still leading, a little over almost a second, about 7/10. Sam Winton, Tobias Burka.
Yep, they're coming across to complete another lap now.
And even Chris Howard with his gap, he's still trying to break that draft. And Callum Wright has set the fastest lap, the driver that did not qualify. He's all the way up to third spot. So, we have a car off.
That's Callum Wright.
Oh.
Callum Wright spins out of turn one. I think he managed to avoid hitting the wall, and he gets it back going. Look at the replay now. This is all on his own.
Yeah, just as I was saying, fast lap, he just kind of breaks a little late and gets that rear end out. Fortunately, he locks it down, doesn't hit anything, but he's going to lose a lot of spacing on that track to the group in front of him. Fortunately, they were far enough ahead that the TCR cars weren't in play at that point. Yeah,
that takes him from third place down to fifth. So the 31 has a lot of work to do, but we've seen thus far he's had speed, and without Galuska here today to challenge him, this could be a chance for him to get back in it for a 45-minute race. There's still 40 minutes left for him to go. Time to make that up. Going up to the TCR lead. We're going to switch hands once again. It's looking like we might down into turn three. That's Olsen to the outside that you can see. The yellow and white car of Niels Hundhedge to his inside. And now we got a three-car pack as Linford comes up behind. He's going to give him a bump draft to see if he can help him on his way down to turn five.
And I think as you're seeing that draft really keeping these cars grouped together, Linford had nowhere to go, and he's just going to try to push the issue. He's going to get position on Hundhedge, and there you go. He's going to get that spot as they go up to that Corvette bridge, although Hundhedge is going to try to go on the inside, try to do the crossover.
Wheels has got the desired line, and then the track is going to switch back through seven. It's still not quite done. Linford sticking it out, and he's going to make it work much faster through the hurry downs and into turn eight. This is kicking things off behind them. Oh, in fact, it's kicking cars into each other as that is Hundhedge, who goes all the way off and into the barriers after being tipped by both Morelli and Ledvig. Well, that was a little bit sloppy. Almost a domino effect here.
Yeah, it looked like one hit the other, and the other pushed him off the track, and he did get a little bit of damage, but he's going to be able to continue. But he's going to be pretty far back at this point.
And you can see that's Walton behind them all, who manages to avoid it. He gains multiple positions, and that's not good news for Olsen and Linford up at the front, because again, Marcus has tended to be the quickest of anybody by a wide margin in this TCR class. He sits in third, and he's got about 2 seconds up to Linford right now, about 4 or 5 up to the overall leader in that class, Olsen.
Yeah, Olsen's now far enough ahead that he's probably able to break that draft, so those guys are going to have to do it the hard way and just outdrive him to get back into that draft, but still have a long ways to go.
Jens now, who's trying to stay with Walton after he was recently overtaken by him, but he's a little bit wide through turn 1. That causes Jens to be slow off the corner. Morelli takes a little bit of a look, but thinks twice about it. Back out of turn 3 onto another of the long straights down the moraine sweep. Ledwig keeping himself safe.
Yeah, I'd like to. One thing we missed here, I was going to say, is we have a change for the lead in the GT3 cars. As we were watching that battle in TCR, Sam Winton has gotten around Chris Howard. I believe Chris Howard had like a big slide in turn 1, and that's allowed Sam Winton to get by. The two-car horse at the point.
Let's take a
two-horse race is what I meant.
I kind of figured that's where you're going with it. Let's take a look at this. So it was into turn 1. Looking at
that was out of the top of the hill, or 6, like you talked about. And that's where he lost the lead, got a little bit wide, and opened the door for Winton to take the point.
Grabbed it with both hands, but unfortunately for him, Howard's still right there, about 0.2 of a second back and challenging. They've left Fake behind, who's got himself up into P3. It's 4 seconds between themselves and the last car on the podium. So at this point, they can fight amongst themselves without having to worry about what will approach. And Howard looking like he is applying quite a bit of pressure. Through the herd downs and around the carousel. This is going to be that critical exit. Look at Howard going a little bit wider on entry, maybe trying to square this one off, getting himself a launch. And Richie, it's looking like it succeeded here.
Yeah, he's right in the draft. Has to lift a little bit in the kink, but he's definitely right there. I don't think he's close enough yet to make a move at the Canada corner, but it did look like he was trying to square it off a little bit and get a little straighter run off the corner. Winton still leads, but he has a lot of pressure from behind to our pole sitter, Chris Howard.
Around to finish another lap. We got a good battle behind them for that third place that I was talking about. Fake is not out of the woods because Burka is right there in the 171 coming up on the front stretch. Another spot where you want that slipstream. Tobias not looking as good off the corner. He at least stays in touch with Fake as they get their speed up. 150 miles an hour, 155 miles an hour, 160 before they get to the braking zone, stamping on the binders, closing in. Burka certainly not close enough to get a go that time through.
Yeah, and as we're watching that, we just had a change for lead in the TCR class as Linford was able to get by. Oh, sorry, that was for P3. Olsen's still in the lead, but Walton was able to get by Linford, and they're battling it hard.
Ooh. Linford nearly got into the back of Walton, so that gives P2 to the number 11. I don't think this is done yet because that's Ledvig behind them as well in 4th position. Watching from on board, Looking ahead, good view of what it's like to fly through the kink in these cars, taking quite a bit of curb all the way up to the edge, almost bobbling a little bit there. Takes a slight look into Canada corner. Nothing doing for the moment. They're going to stay in order. Second to Walton, third to Linford, fourth to Ledvig.
Yeah, and the more these guys battle for second spot, that's letting Tobias Olsen just kind of pull out a little bit. He's got almost 3-second gap to Marcus Walton, although Marcus, I know, is going to want to get up there, and so now he's got in front of those guys. He can just kind of put his head down and try to track down Olsen.
Put his head down, he does, as he's pulling the slipstream up the front stretch. He starts to gain a little bit, but it's small increments here. Wonder if maybe he's potentially trying to save fuel. We haven't talked about that yet. The big draft that these cars offer, not just a factor in terms of being able to pass. Maybe someone will try and get a little bit tricky in strategy.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing to bring up because I'm watching the battle for the GT3 cars, and Chris Howard is right behind Winton. He's just kind of lifting down the straightaway and just kind of letting them go. So I'm not sure what they are with fuel numbers and stuff, but you can definitely, it's one of those tracks where you can save a lot of fuel by just lifting and coasting into the corners. So he might be playing that game. As I think he's got the speed to make the move, but he's not willing to do it just yet.
He's right there up underneath him. You can see him close in, not even poking his nose out. I think you might be right. Howard is already thinking long term here. There's the big lift down into the braking for turn 5. So the 131 letting Winton break the air, save him fuel, and we're about 1/3 through the race, so I have to imagine we're getting close to the pit window, if not already in it.
Yeah, and just as I mentioned earlier, Tobias Olsen had almost 3-second gap. Marcus has brought it down to 2 seconds, so he's separated himself from third spot, and he's tracking down Olsen. He was about 2.5 tenths faster that last lap, so he's slowly catching him.
1.8 seconds to go for them. Meanwhile, it's behind them, the battle to settle out the podium that has been a lot hotter lately between Linford and Ledvig. Coming out of Canada corner, climbing up the hill, out of the more wooded area of the track. Look at that beautiful sunrise, the beautiful static sunrise that we've got this morning in the virtual Wisconsin. Onto the front stretch. Now, last time we saw Ledvig behind, but not looking like he's closing a whole lot. Let's see what he does this time. I would think from the draft that we've been seeing before that he'd start to reel him in. It just doesn't look like it. I think he's doing the same thing that we saw with our GT3 leaders.
Yeah, going back. Oh, we got a taker for the pits. We got Alex Thack coming in for the pit lane. I was just going to mention that Callum Wright has caught up to those guys after his early mistake, but we do have one taker for the first pit stop.
I wonder if this is because they're coming up on the traffic, just hoping to get himself a little bit out of that. Maybe get some clear air while the leaders have to overtake the slower class. And Callum Wright managed to overtake Berkera. Let's see if we can get a replay. This was into turn 1. Wait for them to get through the traffic because this could provide some excitement right here. Going by Jacobson. You can see the speed difference down the straight for these cars. Oh, as Berka nearly gets into the back of him and just gets it woed up in time.
Wow, I think trying to lap those cars threw his braking zone off, and he almost drilled the back of Wright. Fortunately, he didn't. He's able to keep going, but that was close.
So while we were watching that, we had a little bit of side-by-side action between Ledvig and Linford, but Milo held him off and retains that third position.
The leaders are coming up to those guys right now, Linford and Ledvig, and they're going by them just as they come out of the carousel. They're nose to tail, but they're going to come to the kink here. Boy, that's going to separate the group out a little bit. As Winton was able to get by and Howard could not, so that separates that group a little bit. They're starting to get hot and heavy in these lap traffic just at the wrong time, and that's going to bring Ledvig up and give him an opportunity to get by Linford.
Yeah, Linford was way off the apex to let those GT3 cars through at the kink, and Ledvig was not content to sit behind any longer. He goes by as they get one more coming through. That's Callum Wright, third place in the GT class. Gonna leave that battle be, but decides not to come in. Only one car has come in for that scheduled stop. V-TEC has gotten back out after his fuel. He returns in P5. Our leaders in the GT class have pretty much gotten through the entirety of the TCR field at this point, so they are clear. As we watch from Howard's perspective on the roof looking up ahead. A defensive move from Winton this time, ducking down the inside, but then coming back to the outside, the natural racing line, and through turn 5.
I still think that Howard's just kind of sitting there and either trying to save fuel, and he can short fuel a little bit less and pass him in the pits, and I don't think he has any desire to take the lead at this point. And really? As I talked about earlier, Walton was catching Olsen, but as those leaders went by, it's opened that gap back up to 3.2, 3.1 seconds.
Wow, it really has.
Get through that a little bit to let those guys, I don't know, just however it works out sometimes. It's just that's part of the game of multi-class racing. I think Walton has the speed to catch up to him, but he's going to have to work very hard to close that gap.
How much he lost in that traffic coming by. He must have really got the bad end of the stick. We're watching Walton swing it through the kink into the kettle bottoms. These cars getting a fair bit of speed of their own, getting nearly 140 miles an hour here at the lowest part of the track.
Leaders coming onto the front straightaway once again, and still no takers for the pit lane, except for our Alex Stack was the only one so far. So he definitely is on a totally different strategy than these gentlemen.
I really expected more drivers to come in when they hit that lap traffic. Continuing to watch Howard chase down Winton. Not necessarily chase down, more like ride the coattails of, as they come out of turn 3, picking up speed one more time. The 131 versus the number 17. Just lifting ever so slightly, saving that little bit of fuel. Not willing to try and overtake Sam Winton, our pole sitter. Clearly not just fast over a single lap, but a thinker's driver here today, as we're just about getting to the halfway point of the race now.
Yeah, lurking the distance to these two gentlemen, Winton and Howard, is Callum Wright after his early mistake. He has been faster than those two for the last couple of laps. So, we got a problem out in the field. James Payne out there.
This looks like Bill Mitchell Bend.
Yeah,
a bit of curb.
There used to be a bridge there, so it was actually a blind corner. It was a lot tougher than it is now, but it is still blind, but it's much quicker than it used to be.
Well, the New England driver is back running once again, but he lost a lot of time, and he's been mired at the back of the field, besides Eidelberg, who had that stop early on. Must have been for repairs for damage, because Eidelberg was in there for 4.5, nearly 5 minutes. As we come back to our TCR battle for third place, which Linford and Ledvig have not given up on, but it is still Jens who is in that final podium position. He's not given it back up to Linford ever since he took it away.
Still no takers for the pit lane as they go across start-finish line one more time. Sam Winton has gapped Howard a little bit, and Callum Wright is starting to close in. Oh, no. Howard's off in turn 1. Big slide. There you go, on the screen. Lost it going in the corner, sent it out in the gravel, was able to get going, but has definitely lost that position.
It's the second driver we've seen in the GT3 cars to just lose it in turn one, all of their own doing. A great job of keeping it out of the tires because he went a long way out there. But it lost him not just second place, but third place because actually he had a second off. If we want to stay with this, let's continue to watch this. He only lost one position here, and then coming through turn three, once again, he goes off course. Either something's wrong with his hardware or maybe the car itself.
Yeah, kind of just went straight off there. I don't know if he just lost his focus a little bit or he's got some sort of problem, but he's now lost a couple of spots.
Jumps him down to P4. Chris Howard had a lot of work to do. Meanwhile, it is a pit party for the TCR class, except for Linford. Linford stays out. Olsen is the first to come out. Walton follows. Ledvig going to return in third. Morelli out after him. And then Hoodhedge still in there taking his work. Looks like Jeff Jacobson going to beat him out.
Yeah, Linford takes the point, staying out for an extra lap here. Everybody else pitting, but they did separate themselves a little bit as Marcus Walton was getting a little bit closer than he is right now, but Tobias Olsen had a much better pit stop. Looks like Tobias actually had a 0.8 of a second faster pit stop than Walton, so that's how you do it. Keep that guy from sniffing your draft.
And that's going to be critical for him here today. Interestingly, we see that the Element Sim Racing drivers took tires, and that's going to mean those are cold once again. We saw a number of the TCR cars go off in the first two laps on cold tires. Guessing that they took fronts. Looking to see, I believe that would be... Trying to figure out which of those drivers. That is Hoodhedge, I believe, that took tires.
And Linford's coming in. So our leader in TCR is coming out this time. So we'll see how it shakes out.
Oh, our leader in the GT class is wrecked in turn 6, and he has definitely gotten the wall. We're taking a look at the replay. You can see just looks like it snaps on him and then was not able to stop it before it found the tires.
Yeah, he just did a little bit of a tank slapper, and he had to do like an Austin Powers type of move to get back on the track, about an 8-point turn. He's lost a lot of track position, a lot of time as well.
And all this means that Callum Wright is now our leader. He didn't have to pass a car to do it for the first or second place. This is incredible. 31 has got to be thanking his lucky stars, but he's yet to take a pit stop. Granted, there's no one really close to him that he has to worry about being leapfrogged.
Yeah, and he's not pitting either this lap. And he also had his own problems early on where he sent it off the road. So he's had to come back and, yeah, just takes that point by default as everybody else is falling by the wayside.
But we had more drivers off the road. Ledvig and Morelli were in a battle side by side coming up. Oh, and that's because they were coming in behind Linford, who had just finished his pit stop. We've got the replay. We're going to try and split him on either side, it looks like. This will be into turn 1. So we're a little far back here. Ooh, they were actually battling before they got to there. Swap places before the kink. Brave move by Morelli. Gets in front of him. Ledvig looking for it down into Canada corner. Manages to get to the inside. Just as they're going to be split up by a GT car, it looks like. And then now they come onto the front stretch. This is where all hell is going to break loose. Whoa! almost getting into the GT car as well. Morelli stealing a little bit of slipstream. Oh, and we didn't get to see the off, I guess. So as we come back live, that is going to give Linford third place. Ledvig is in fourth, and Morelli falls back to P5 after all that. Now Olsen has really got his hands full.
And I
20
talked
minutes
about
left
earlier,
to go. Yeah.
He had a slower pit stop. He's gapped him all the way up, so he is right behind him now. We have a battle for that position, so that gap has been disappeared.
I'm not sure if Olsen's going to be able to hold him back for 20 minutes. I almost wonder if his best bet, Richie, is maybe to just let Walton by and ride his slipstream.
Yeah, just kind of be patient, but at the same time, Ledwig has gotten by Linford for third spot. Even though he's 10 seconds behind, he's quick enough where he can start getting that close that gap up if the lap cars get in the way. Oh no, we got a little contact between sorry, you don't have to go to it, but the Audi passing Lidwig got a little contact and it stacked him back up to Linford.
Yeah, that's the battle for third place in that class. You can see as our leaders coming down through turn 5, a little bit of a look from Walton, but not successful yet. He's given space at the apex of 6. Olsen's still fending him off. And we don't need to go to it, but Payne had heavy contact with the wall, has since had to come into the pits to get repairs done. The number 129 is just having a miserable day today. Meanwhile, we ride on board with Walton looking up ahead at Tobias, now through the carousel. He's going to get another bite with a lot of draft down through the kink. And they're going to have some friends coming up. This is Tobias Burke, a second place in the GT class.
He's flashing his lights furiously. Let him by, and they let him by, and then they can continue on. So that was a convenient place to catch them, and these guys can let their battle rage once more.
Walton still not close enough to have an attempt down into Canada corner. He's sizing him up now, though. Up and over Bill Mitchell bends. He's within a car length. If he can keep this close up the front stretch, this will be an easy overtake. Off the final corner, he's definitely got a good run. And he's going to look to the inside. No defensive move from Olsen, interestingly. Lets him up to that desired line, across the line. That time by, it was Walton who led that lap over Olsen, but just fractionally. And into the first corner, he's going to seal the deal if he just gets the exit right. Ooh, but he's a little slow and he goes defensive. Olsen maybe on a re-attack or repass. He forces a defensive move out of Walton through turn 3, but I think Walton maybe has it done now. Leader in the GT3 class has come into the pits and is back out. Also taking his stop, and we got a repass for the lead in the TCRs as they're side by side. Walton under attack from Olsen, but he goes way wide down at the bottom of the hill.
Yeah, after seeing that move by Walton, Olsen might want to just stay right there with him and just get him the run up to the front finish line at the checkered, as that draft was really strong. So he might want to just sit there and ride along. We still have 14 minutes, so about 6.5 laps or so left.
As long as he's got the pace to stay with him, I have to agree with you that that'd be the smartest thing for him to do. They're not being caught by Ledvig either, so there's really no worry about him trying to be tricky and play patient back there. The third place driver is about 8 seconds behind.
Yeah, but he was 10. So on that last lap, Ledwig, and there was some traffic, obviously, but Ledwig was almost a second and a half faster than Walton. So we'll see how they get this lap. And he might if he's faster or not. He might get there before the end of the race.
Last of our GT cars now in the pit lane. That's Tobias Burka. That'll handle lead back to Callum Wright once he comes by. There you see Burka looking for his stop.
And Callum Wright, he's got a huge lead on Sam Winton as they were together early on, but there were some issues, so he's got like 18-second lead on second spot.
As he's stealing a little bit of draft from this battle between Linford and Morelli, which is swapped around since we last looked. That moves Morelli up to P4. There goes Wright. Burka now demoted to second place just as he gets going. Tell you what, though, he might be relatively close with Fake. I'm waiting for the time to settle out to see how much gap is between those two.
Olsen trying to make a move on Walton as they come down into turn 5. He's on the outside, not able to get position, but he is staying with them. Maybe try to do the crossover. He might be trying to do what we talked about there, Joe, is just kind of stick with them and wait for that last minute. So we'll see how this plays out. But as this is happening, once again, Jens Ledwig was faster by almost 2 seconds to Walton that last time around. So he's definitely closing. You can see him. They're about that little bit. They're in this corner, and Ledwig's just coming out of the next one. So he's going to be a player here soon, I think.
And I wonder if this is somewhat due to their fighting, that they've been side by side in a number of corners now. Of course, Olsen could be trying to elicit a mistake from Walton, which he is not unknown for. Here comes another of our GT cars. It's our leader, actually, Callum Wright. Once again, going to catch them in a very good spot. As long as they stay off to the side, both of them holding for left. Nicely done.
Very convenient for Callum.
Absolutely. Ooh, and Chris Howard has caught up to Alex Thake. I was worried about Thake and Burka. It's Chris that instead that is causing us some action here in the GT class as he gets his nose in. Our former leader and our pole sitter is denied this time, and now guess who he's got for company? It's Sam Winton, who is on the front row with him, and yet they are fighting for 4th and 5th. How the mighty have fallen onto the front stretch. Howard certainly seems to have pace over Fake. Question is, when and where is he going to be able to do it? Stream on by Ledvig. Ooh, but Ledvig is unfortunately going to hold up Winton. He loses a lot of time trying to wait for that TCR car. He might get more opportunities, though.
I was going to say, Ledwig's on a mission here. He's got to try to close up about 6.5 second gap, so he's definitely not going to give those GT3 cars any sort of a break. He's running out of time. He's got about less than 5 laps left. He is closing, but man, I don't think it's enough now. I thought it was, but I don't think it's going to be enough.
I hope you can multitask, because here we go. Battle for the lead in the TCRs is being met with the battle for 3rd in the GT cars as they meet one another, and Thake has to check up big time with Olsen. That costs Olsen time, actually. Everybody flashing lights hurriedly, hoping to try and get through. Olsen to the inside still of Howard, who gets caught up. That allows Winton to get behind him. Now, finally, Walton allowing Thake around the outside of the carousel. And that's Howard trying to go by.
Really catching them at a bad spot there, but they all three go around the outside, and now they can continue their battle, and then Walton and Olsen can continue theirs, but that's going to slow those guys up a little bit, and we'll see what the gap is to Jens. He's down to 5.3 seconds, so all this is making him catch up. I hope he does, so we can get a 3-way battle for the lead.
We'll spice things up a treat. You could see our 2 leaders still within half a second of one another. Olsen got caught out a little bit more than Walton, but he's quickly regained the ground with the draft. He's within that 0.5 of a second. Be curious to see how much quicker Ledvig is this lap, considering how much they got held up by those GT cars coming through as they climb up the hill with now 8 minutes to go.
Yeah, it's down to a 5-second gap at the moment, so he's dropped at least a second on that last run.
This time by for Ledvig is a 220.5 versus Olsen, who ran a 222.3. Whew, second and a half quicker. Staying on board with our TCR leader.
Yeah, I know we got a lot going on. I just watched. Yep, I was just going to mention that Morelli going on the inside of Linford, and they go into turn 1. So we got battles all over the track.
Maybe a little bit of a slim field, but the action has been hot as we get another move from Linford down the Moraine sweep with a great exit out of turn 3. Morelli with no answer other than to cover off the inside. They get awful close as they nearly bang doors coming down that long stretch towards turn 5. Who's going to be later on the brakes? Right now it's looking like Linford, but he's got the outside line. Can he carry his speed? Very hard fought move, and that's going to give Linford P4.
Yeah, very good job going around the outside. Having that front wheel drive, sometimes having the outside is a little better because you can get square off the corner a little bit. Goes off the track. They both go off the track there. Kind of follow the leader through that kink.
And Howard's got the inside coming down into Canada. Corner on Fake. He's been working on this for a while, and Howard finally back up onto the podium. That was facilitated by a good run out of the kink, and Fake just unfortunately couldn't hold him back with the speed that our pole sitter has been able to show in that Audi GT3 car. Ooh, look at him weave, trying to break that draft too. He wants no more part of this. He wants to set his sights on Berker, even though he is well up the road. Oh, and a look up to the inside. Fake's going to try for it. That was a deep dive by the number 98, but it is fruitless in the end. Lots of eager moves from these drivers trying to settle out that third spot. He'll get another go with the speeds coming up down into turn 5. Fake. Another look to the inside. Howard doesn't cover him off, interestingly. Stays on the racing line, gives him space at the apex, finds the grip off the corner, and he denies him.
Yeah, sometimes taking the outside line, you can get that drive and pinch that guy off, and that just showed you right how to do it. But he is definitely being hassled right now by Fake, and that's his teammate too, right behind him, Winton. So it's 2 against 1 at the moment.
Yeah, this is going to be tough for Howard with it seeming like the slipstream is quite a bit. Whoa, and Howard is looking awful loose. In fact, his car is squirming all over the place coming through the carousel. He's got horrible speed coming out of here, and the tables have turned. Fake is the one with speed this time. Side by side, down through the kink. Off the course goes Howard, tries to keep it pointed forward. Doesn't lose it, but he does lose positions as the Fake goes by, and now Sam Winton is going to be able to overtake.
Yeah, that all started with Howard getting really loose in the carousel, and he's loose again, so he's definitely killed those rear tires, and he lost all his momentum. Unfortunately, when they entered the kink, Howard's off again. Oh. He has really got to just take a breath and calm down, because he still has the pace to take that podium spot, and he can't throw it away now because we only have 4.5 minutes left.
Fake also had an off. Meanwhile, Morelli had an off and lost the battle with Linford, at least for the moment. Let's take a look at where this happened. So much happening here at the end. Looks like this was in the hurry downs. Yeah, just driver error. Off into the gravel he goes.
Yeah, we've seen a couple of mistakes there, just coming in a little too fast and can't get it slowed down.
Looks like Howard's on it again.
Oh, Winton and Howard battling it out. Look at all threes. Howard's kind of gathered himself back up, and now he's going to try to take that position back, going on the outside lane.
Certainly likes that move. Oh, but he's got to be given space, and he actually has to shove his way back onto the course as Witten stays off to the side there. And that's going to deny him the chance. Witten retains that 4th position.
And as we speak, we have a battle for the lead in TCR as Olsen's trying to go around the outside of Walton down into turn 3. They're going side by side through 1, 2, and 3. Not able to get it done, but Olsen's decided it's time to make his move. As he looks in the back, he can see Jens Ledwig closing in. He's only 3.5 seconds back, so he's going to get there if he keeps up on his pace.
Another good run, but this time a lift from Olsen. Interesting. Maybe saving his stuff, waiting for the end now. The gap continuing to shrink back to Ledwig. And Witten and Howard once again.
I hate to go back to that. I was just saying that, yeah, Howard side by side as they come up over the hill there, coming up to the last corner.
Going to give the inside to Winton, but maybe an over-under opportunity for Howard. He's just a little bit off the apex. He'll get the slipstream. This has been great for Thake because he's dropped them by about a second as they come up the hill and over the line. There are 2 laps to go, and Howard has got a great run, but it's very aggressive defensive moves from Winton, covering off the inside, making the go long way around, and they come together and both of them spin. Eventually, something had to give, and it got a little bit too rough out there as Howard is the first one able to get the car going.
Yeah, I would just kind of call that just hard racing at the end of the race. I don't think anybody was at the fault. They were both going for it. Unfortunately, they both spun off. Here we are back to the TCR lead. Nothing's changed, but Olsen's decided to just stick there, and you can see right behind them, right there, that 3rd car. Here comes Ledwig. He's getting there. I don't know if he has enough time, but he's getting close enough. These guys battle hard. It might be a 3-way battle.
So last time across the line, Olsen was a 22.8 versus Ledwig was a 21.8, so another second faster that time by. Let's keep an eye on this. I'm also keeping an eye on our leader to see when he comes across, because this should be white flag for Callum Wright. But this is the action that we need to be following. You see Jens rather, who's now firmly got them in his sights. He can see them up ahead. White flag is out for Callum Wright. 1 to go for the field. There's our GT3 leader. Who would have thought? And despite not taking a qualifying time, he didn't need it. He's been well ahead of the rest of the field after so much trouble for those behind him. And is Olsen close to being out of fuel? Olsen is suddenly falling back.
Yeah, he's fallen way back. So, these guys still have about a lap and a quarter to go. They have not gotten the white flag yet. So that's interesting to know, because he was all over the back of Walton. Oh, he must be, I think he's coasting. He must be low on fuel. And if he's trying to save now, he's got about 7 miles to go, 6 miles. I don't think he's going to make it.
That makes it, I'm not sure why he didn't just ride behind Walton when he could. Or maybe he didn't think he could save enough fuel. It's certainly going to cost him second place, because Ledwig is easily going to get him here.
Ooh, he's not going to let him by easy, but Ledwig's close all the way up to him, and Ledwig should be able to get by. They're going to go side by side up over the hill.
Going to fight him for it, but there's just not much in it, it seems, as eventually Ledwig now takes P2.
Oh, no. Walton's coming in. So is Olsen. These guys can't make it. Ledwig's in.
Olsen's slowing down. Is this for Callum Wright? He's behind him, but he's got to go across the line here. Yeah, he's committed now, so he's got to keep going, but at a very slow pace. Meanwhile, let's go to Callum Wright because he's coming up the hill, and he is going to finish this race. Callum Wright with the victory here today in the GT class.
Well, right now we got Olsen out on the track. We don't know if he can make it. Walton's coming back out. Ledwig's coming back out, but Linford is he might win the race. Too. Yeah, I mean, if he has good enough fuel, he might win the race. Morelli's out too as well still. So this is something I didn't expect for sure. It'd be interesting to see, keep an eye on Olsen to see if he can coast around enough to make it.
Must have been just a little bit too tight for the TCR cars to get to the end. I saw at least one of them. I think it was Morelli potentially who slowed up to let the leader by.
And that last lap for Olsen was 7 seconds slower than his previous lap. So he's going to have to really save some fuel to make it around.
I'm on board with him now.
Fuel situation is.
Linford's about 3.5 seconds back and gaining. Morelli, who also did not stop, is back there. I think he's also trying to lift and coast. Walton, I believe, is our first driver to have stopped. It is trying to catch them.
Yeah,
he's got a long way to go.
Yeah, and he's not going to make it unless these guys run out of gas. And because Nicholas Morelli is 3 seconds up, Linford's catching Tobias quickly. So Linford might be the hero here. He might have been doing this all along, and he's catching him. He's going to catch him. He's going to catch him here.
He's coming up behind him. These two are teammates, mind you. They've got 9 seconds back to Morelli. That could be good enough. Does he maybe potentially push his teammate to the line, give him the win? Or just enough to be able to pull by him so that he can take second place? They're coming to the hill. You better have fuel coming up here because it's a long run, going a long ways up to the start-finish line. Walton's still well behind them, and Olsen is at it.
No.
It's going to hand the victory over to Linford at the line. Second place still to Olsen as Walton just fires it up the hill and is just a few seconds short to take third. Morelli also sputtering as he's getting a push from Ledwig in the end.
Yeah, he's not going
to be the whole...
Yeah, he's trying to push him up the hill here to the finish. That's pretty funny.
That's going to finish them out. Those are the last two on the lead lap. Hopefully he can push him.
He went by him, pushed him up the hill and then went by him. He's stopping. I think he's going to let him get by.
I think he wants to make sure he has enough fuel to coast to the line here so that he can at least finish, and he does. So he's gonna come across. That's gonna take us to a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing Channel with a wild finish at Road America. Certainly had plenty of action. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews, but stick around because on screen you'll see all the upcoming races here on the GSRC. back to Road America. We just watched round 3 here in the V-TEC GTR series. And in the end, it was Callum Wright taking the victory without even qualifying here today. Climbed through the fields. Granted, he was helped a little bit by some of the action up at the front. I think he still would have been in the mix regardless, but this is another great victory for the number 31. Tobias Burka with a second place behind them, ahead of a heavy fight between Alex Thake, who took third, and Chris Howard, who eventually came to blows, but didn't seem to come to angry tempers because they were in a good mood at the end of the race. Same with Sam Winton as well, who finished in 5th and the last on the lead lap of the GT3 field. Richie?
Well, the TCR class was a little more exciting than that, actually, with Milo Linford coming to the win, getting past right at the end as our leader was running out of gas to the finish line, and that would have been Tobias Olsen finishing second. Marcus Walton was leading early, but he decided to pit, comes home third. Jens Ledwig also coming home fourth. Nicholas Morelli running out of gas at the end as well. He had second place on his plate, but didn't quite make it. Right behind him is going to be Niels Pendehege and Jeff Jacobson finishing in the back of the field there.
Yeah, Eidelberg obviously many laps down, and Payne with the DNF, Gersitz with the DNS today. That's going to bring us to an interview with our winner in the GT class. Callum Wright takes another victory with very strange circumstances compared to the previous races. Callum, first of all, we're curious, why did you decide not to qualify?
I didn't have the time. I was at work, so I had to rush home, and I only just made the race, to be honest. So I had to start from the back.
Wow. Well, that makes the win even more impressive. We did see you catching up through the field, but what was going through your mind when you suddenly found yourself coming across and being told you were P1?
I had to fight my way from the back at the start, and then I think it was like 5 laps in, I spun out again, so I was at the back twice. But I just kept on hustling, and I managed to find my way through. Some other people had some mistakes, so I capitalised on that and got P1 in the end, so I'm quite chuffed.
It looked like there was a huge gap in lap times between the GT class and the TCR class here today. What was it like trying to deal with that? Did you have to be pretty careful in places to pick your way through them?
I think I was quite lucky with traffic, to be honest, and it was a small field this week, so it was fairly easy to get past them, and they gave plenty of room, so I had no issues.
Well, another victory. Congratulations. Anybody you'd like to thank before we let you go?
I thank Rich for not doing this race and giving me all the points.
Clearly going to be a big points haul there today for Callum Wright, our winner. And up next, we have our winner in the TCR class. Cheers to Callum Wright. That's Milo Linford that Richie has caught up with.
Yes, Milo, you got a copy. Milo, you got a copy there?
Hello. Yep, copy.
Milo, wow. Quite a surprise at the end there. We didn't realize fuel was going to be that close. How long were you actually saving fuel? Because some of those guys obviously didn't save enough.
Well, after I realised I was the only one that could go a lap extra on the first stint, I knew that fuel was going to be an issue at the end. So basically, just saved as much fuel as I could, and it paid off. I was at the end. I was thinking they must have saved fuel, but yeah, Tobias just ran out on the final stretch. So yeah, it was a very close race, but yeah, strategy won it, I think.
Yeah, no, you did. And we noticed Tobias was in a problem because the lap before that, he was about 8 seconds slower. He was all starting to save. And then those other guys came in and you stayed out and you were still charging. So, man, congratulations. Not always the most traditional way to win, but it's still exciting to know you kind of outsmarted those guys.
Yeah. It was not how I didn't think I'd be even close to the top. So yeah, to win it in this way, obviously not. I wasn't the quickest guy out there, but I played the cards right to get the win.
That's all that matters. It's not paid on qualifying. So nicely done there. Anybody you'd like to thank?
Tobias being we were talking during the race, so it was interesting to see what they were doing at the front. And yeah, it was a fun race. So thank you for broadcasting it, and thank you for the league runners.
Congratulations. And man, good finish there, Milo. Joe?
That was our winner over in the TCR class. We've got second with us with Tobias Burka joining us. And Tobias, you were in the midst of some action in the first half of the race, but it looks like everything really calmed down for you after the pit stops happened.
Yeah, well, I fell behind and I made a little mistake, and then I fell behind Alex and couldn't get by him. So I focused on fuel saving and tire saving. And then he went to the pits very early, and I had a window where I had to push, and I did, and it worked.
Do you feel it made a difference coming into a track that's been around a lot longer here on iRacing that I'm assuming you had quite a bit more experience with compared to Barcelona and the new version of Silverstone? Do you feel like it was a little bit easier to adapt and get yourself prepared?
Yeah, absolutely. For me, it was a very good choice. Road America, really love the track, and I'm fairly successful on it. Not really saying fast, but somehow I managed to get good results here. So I really like this track, yeah. And yeah, well, I practiced every practice session this week, so I felt very prepared, and I think it showed.
Speaking of familiarity, we've also got Laguna Seca, which a lot of road drivers on iRacing have driven plenty, but it's a lot harder to pass there. Do you feel like qualifying is going to be all the more important when you head over to California?
Yeah, Laguna Seca will be a little bit of the different race, but also it's going to be about fuel saving, but obviously, yeah, you're right. Qualifying is a bit more important there. It's true.
Well, again, congratulations on a podium here today, and hopefully we'll get to talk to you in 2 weeks.
Thank you.
As Tobias Burka, our second place finisher in the GT class, and Richie has now caught up with Olsen, who is just shy of the fuel and takes second.
Yeah, we got Tobias Olsen here with us, finishing second in the TCR class. Tobias, man, about a couple hundred meters away from that win. We could tell you were trying to save fuel as much as possible, but just a little bit short.
Yeah, exactly. I just decided to risk it on the last lap and just try to save as much fuel as I could, but I ran out just before the finish line. So unfortunately, Milo got me there.
Well, I mean, even that gamble, even though you fell short, it still was better than pitting, as Walton pitted and came out behind you guys. But how far into the race did you think that maybe you weren't going to quite make it?
I mean, somewhere along the lines of, or when I was battling Marcus there, I figured I wasn't going to make it. So I tried to save some fuel behind him. I think that's the reason I could do that last lap at all. Otherwise, I would probably have run out even earlier, I think.
Yeah, we were watching that a little bit, and we kind of talked about it and figured you could have probably made the move, but we, from our side, we didn't know what the fuel strategy was like, so we didn't know it was that close. And man, so close, but still a great race. You guys put on a great show, even for only a few cars. It was nonstop action.
Yeah, thank you. It was a fun race as well to drive, so yeah, good fun.
Well, congratulations on that second place, and man, keep it going. Good job, and hopefully we'll see you at the next one.
That was Tobias Olsen, second place in the TCR class. Up next, we've caught up with the last podium spot in the GT class, and that is Alex Thake. Alex, towards the end there, you had a little bit of fun, it looks like, with Howard and Winton. What was it like from your perspective?
A bit scary, honestly. We had a bit too many close calls, but, that's just racing sometimes, and I enjoyed it, so that's all that really matters, I guess.
And obviously, it seemed like they had a little bit of pace on you with them out qualifying you, but, well, at least in the case of... no, actually, both of them did out qualify, I believe. But anyways, so knowing that they were faster coming up, was it something that kind of put a grin on your face when you saw them fighting each other? Were you kind of hoping for them to duke it out amongst themselves to let you scamper away the way you did?
Yeah, I mean, yes, because obviously from the start I didn't have much pace. I sort of I had decent practice and qualifying. I didn't have any. Then during the race, I was lacking. So I was kind of having to hope in other people making mistakes and battling each other to get a result. But at the end, that sort of happened and worked in my favor.
What do you think now that you've tried the endurance format for this series? Do you prefer this with the single race, or do you like the double headers a little bit better?
This is the only race I've done so far. So
excuse me, you're right.
first race.
Well, not a bad showing then on your first race. Will we be seeing you at Laguna Seca then?
Yes, I enjoyed this. I don't see why I shouldn't come back.
Fantastic. Well, we look forward to talking to you. And again, congratulations on a podium on your first time out.
Cool.
That was Alex Thake, third place here in the GT car. Sometimes it's hard to keep track of everything that goes on in these races. So let's let Richie Hearn take over with the chat with third place in the TCR class, Marcus Walton.
Yeah, Marcus led a lot of laps there and unfortunately didn't quite make it, had to pit. Tobias talked about, we kind of mentioned it, I think he was sitting behind you trying to save fuel and making you punch your car through the air. And unfortunately, that just made you a little bit short.
Hello. Yes, it was a really hard race. And the fuel topic, well, my calculator said I was missing 3 liters. That's nearly 1 lap of fuel. And I thought I cannot save it. About halfway the race, I knew that I won't have enough. And
yeah,
I'm surprised they made it. But yeah, congratulations.
Yeah, they barely made it because Tobias ran out as he crossed the finish line, and I guess sitting behind you saved enough. But his lap behind, the second to last lap, he was 8 seconds slower. So he was definitely just hoping for the best. Linford obviously was able to save enough fuel too, but man, it was a great race to watch. You guys put on a great show, a lot of action, a lot of clean racing. You must be, even though you finished third and didn't win, got to be pretty happy with the way it went.
Yes, I'm happy, and it was really fun. Very good race, and yeah, thank you.
Yeah, well, thanks for joining us here, Walton, and congratulations on third place finish, and look forward to seeing you at the next one.
Thank you. See you.
That was third place in our TCR class, and that's going to close out our interviews for today. So, of course, we want to give a big thank you to the V-TEC GTR series for bringing us on board for their first season to cover them. It's certainly been a lot of fun watching these drivers do their multi-class touring car racing. And, of course, also a big thank you goes to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcast. You can see them listed here on your screen. Additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. And also thanks to the team today, Sean, Richie, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. Check out our social media. Our Twitter is at GSR Channel, Facebook, Global SimRacing Channel, and Instagram, GSRC_Graham. Don't forget, head on over to our YouTube page, because if you haven't subscribed yet, you need to. You click that big red button and you won't miss a moment here on the GSRC. As we mentioned, we're going to Laguna Seca. That'll be Thursday, October 31st at 1:45 p.m. Eastern. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.